Hello and welcome to the Calmcast, a time to feel calm and think clearly. I'm Claire Downham, the Queen of Calm, a transformational life coach. I was a burnt out head teacher who finally made the journey to calm after years of trying, and I want to prevent you from having to do the same. The Calmcast is a series of short explorations, gently guiding you back to your natural state, which is calm and clarity. Just listen like you would listen to music, with an open mind and curiosity. There's nothing else to do. Now let's relax into today's episode. So today we're going to explore difficult conversations as a topic, and this is a request from someone who asked me to do this. And where this is appearing on various places, that person will be tagged, and you'll see who they are. Anyway, it's an interesting one. Is a difficult conversation, because I don't know if you've noticed, but in the moment when you're having a conversation, even if later on you might say that was a difficult conversation, you possibly don't notice it that much. Because in the moment you just kind of get on with it, don't you? You get on with having the conversation. So why do we call something a difficult conversation? Well, because we make it difficult in advance. And in fact, when we think about the word difficult, what is something that's difficult? How do we know that something is difficult? I remember once listening to a story that Michael Neal told about how he was sent to interview a guy who was, it was like a Silicon Valley, I'm sure, I'm probably going to mistell this story, but the story will make sense to you in terms of being helpful at this point in this discussion, in this broadcast. Michael Neal was sent off to interview a guy who was seen to be he was a troubleshooter in Silicon Valley, I think. And he was sent into businesses that were struggling to help them get past whatever it is they were apparently struggling with. And Michael Neal said to him, how do you solve these difficult problems, these huge, really hard problems? And he said, I don't solve really difficult problems. And Michael Neal said, well, that's not true. That's what you're known for. And he said, well, I don't, because I don't make them to be difficult before I even set off. He said, the company itself may feel like they're drowning in something that seems really difficult, but he didn't make it difficult. He didn't say it was difficult. He didn't go in with a mindset of this is going to be difficult. But of course, when we think about a conversation, and I remember this really, really well, because as a primary school head teacher, I used to have a lot of, in inverted commas, difficult conversations never with the children though, by the way, as a primary head teacher. The children were never the people who you had difficult conversations with. You had very present conversations with children, really, because they would usually do something quite unexpected, and then you would have to speak to them about the unexpected thing they'd done, like thrown stones at a car through the school fence or something else silly. Whereas adults were more difficult. So parents, and other staff, governors maybe. So I used to have to, and I remember thinking about it, how I'd probably wind myself up pretty well in advance of the conversation, to the point where it was hugely problematic, mainly because of how awful I felt going into the conversation before it even happened. Because that's what we do, don't we? It's not. I really think that if the difficult conversation was suddenly placed on our plate, suddenly we had to deal with it, we would just get on with it, wouldn't we? Because we wouldn't have a choice, and we wouldn't have all that time to ruminate and overthink it and analyze it and go, oh well, if they say that, then I'll say that, and if they say that, I'll say that. And if they say that, I'll do that. Because that's what we do, don't we? We do this massive planning process for a conversation that then ends up being nothing like that. Because that's the thing. We can't, all this stuff we do in the future and wind ourselves up with is really, really ineffective. It just doesn't work because we don't work in the future. And we make things out to be huge and difficult and challenging because of the story that we've created about the future. Because we think it's going to be like this and they're going to be like that. And maybe as well because we go in with a very clear idea about what we want the result of the conversation to be, when actually we've no idea what the best result might be. Really, a lot of the time, the result that we're making up now about the future is a result that our old habitual thinking is saying it's a good idea. Well, that's not perhaps our most helpful place to come from, is it? Our old habitual thinking. You might have noticed your old habitual thinking is often not very helpful. So there's all that making it up in the future, making something to be difficult, deciding it's going to be, even once you've put that idea into your belief about a conversation, you're already starting from a more challenging space, aren't you? Because you're saying it's going to be I've got to have a difficult conversation tomorrow. And it's already then starting to bubble as an uncomfortable feeling. So we make it up as difficult in the future. We're often wrong. Although, of course, if we've decided it's going to be difficult, that'll probably be our experience of it. But what's available if we just turn up? I mean, I'm finding like this broadcast this morning, I really have just turned up because those of you can see me, are on a platform where you can see me, then you'll see that I'm in a motorhome and I've just literally woken up and chucked some clothes on to come and talk to you because I had a little lie-in this morning. So it's come, there's been very little preparation. It's just what's coming up right now. And don't you find that's the best stuff that comes out of you ever? Is when you just turn up with nothing on your mind and no predetermined idea about what something's going to be like. And when you think about a conversation with another human being, imagine just going into a conversation like that. Because everything you need is available in the present moment. I love Michael Neill's phrase, real-time responsive intelligence. It's just I've tried to create my own phrase that means the same thing, but there's nothing quite rolls off the tongue like real-time responsive intelligence. Because that's what we've got in the present moment. If we just turn up and listen to another person and be present with them, then what unfolds will be what unfolds. But you'll be working with the best version of you, because the best version of you is not a puppeteer trying to operate you in the future. Oh, I've never said that before. It's quite cool, actually, that, isn't it? It sometimes can feel like that's what we've to do. That right now we have to be puppeteering our future self like a puppet on a string to try and control what future self might do, when actually your future you is looking back and going, can you just stay out of my business, please? I've got this. Always in the present moment we've got this. Always. But when we wrap a story around something that's coming up in the future, we don't got this. We just don't have it. We're not good puppeteers of ourselves in the future. We're really not. So that's the thing to know about a so-called, I'm going to call it a so-called difficult conversation, is you have got everything you need inside you ever to have any conversation just by turning up. Now, if I'm not saying that if there's some facts and figures you need to provide to somebody in this meeting, I'm not saying don't go in with your spreadsheet ready, but I'm saying that the words that are going to be required are there when you need them in the present moment. You don't need to make those up. Really, you don't. Everything is available. Absolutely everything. And try to notice. All you need to do is notice. Don't try to, I never said try to stop. Don't try to stop. But just notice when you are puppeteering your future self. And I really like puppeteering your future self as a concept. I think it's quite cool. I think we probably need to cut those strings, don't we? And go and, and allow our future selves to get on with managing their present moment, because that's their job. Our job is to manage our present moment. I suppose that's the last thing to say. If you're trying to puppeteer the future, you've got at least one hand busy puppeteering the future when actually both hands need to be in the present moment, getting on with what you're doing right now. So I hope you find that helpful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening. There's nothing to do now but bring some awareness to how this is working out in your life. Listen regularly to experience longer and longer periods of calm. This has been the Calmcast with Claire Downham, Queen of Calm. Take care and keep listening.